Hello! Welcome to Rabbit Stew right here on Hyper RPG. Thank you for tuning in. This is, of course, Hyper RPG, a hyperactive, interactive, premium quality content Twitch streaming channel focusing mostly on digital and analog gaming, but a lot of things that are in the sphere of geek culture. This is our daily show, Rabbit Stew, where we talk about news and other things that are topical based on the theme of the day. And every Wednesday, of course, is Comic Book Day, which is why to my right you can see...
Hello, I am That Bronze Girl. I'm a variety caster on Twitch, but mostly I'm also a huge nerd and comic book enthusiast.
And thus, we're here to talk comic books with you. If you want to talk back to us, of course you can communicate with us through the chat, but you can also tip as low as, or donate as low as $5 to have Friend Computer shout something at us. And of course, if you want to subscribe every show, if we get 5 subscribers, we give away a Steam key to somebody in chat, whether you're a subscriber or not. So subscribers, good. Resubs, also good. And I think that's the most business. You can also follow Hyper RPG on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/HyperRPG, at Hyper_RPG on Twitter. And we have a Reddit subreddit, reddit.com/r/HyperRPG. So it's Wednesday. It's Comic Book Day.
It is.
And
it's also apparently Beanie Day.
It is.
We're very
Day.
Seattle today.
Yeah,
you can tell that it cooled down in Seattle a little bit.
Yeah, like yesterday. It was like cloudy yesterday, and today it's like hot.
It was like a
again.
perfect 4th of July weekend in general.
Yeah, I went to the zoo yesterday. It was fantastic. Like very few people were there.
Yeah?
It was really nice.
Oh, even today, everyone's like, "Oh, what happened to the sun?" I'm like, "Y'all crazy? This is perfect. It's nice breeze, nice and cool."
This is how we do summer in the Northwest.
Yes.
It's great. Anyway, let's see what we've got going on today on the channel. After this show, we've got watching paint dry with Viking Lass. She rebuilds and repaints the mechs that we destroy on Death from Above every Friday.
That I destroyed on Death from Above.
That's right, you were on Death from Above last Friday. How was that? Was that fun?
It was super fun. I had a great time. There was an epic sword battle, and yeah, I totally destroyed some of everyone's favorite mech paint jobs, but no regrets. No regrets at all.
No regrets. Well, you can see they get repainted on Watching Paint Dry at 3. And then at 6, we have Shadowrun Corporate Sins. Today's episode is called Hunting the Hunters. MFEC are contacted by an old employer in hope of discovering who exactly hired the troll killers and how deep does the threat to Djuguzvili run. I probably butchered that name.
I think you might have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Corporate Sins is awesome. For those of you that don't know, it is our Shadowrun game, but it also has with it the meta game that everybody who is subscribing can play and influence the Shadowrun game, which is really fun. All right, that's all the housekeeping. So let's talk about comic book
news.
Because there's something big dropped today.
I'm sick.
And you're sick?
Yes.
She doesn't like it. Okay.
Ah.
The big story today, coming out of the Marvel camp, is the new Invincible Iron Man #1 that will be coming out as part of the Marvel Now initiative following Secret Wars with a new protagonist. Instead of Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit, it'll be a young African-American teenager named Riri Williams. So following in the vein of Miles Morales and Jessica Jones, Brian Michael Bendis is now turning Iron Man into a young black girl.
Yeah.
So you are not excited about this?
I'm not.
At all.
I'm not.
Why not?
So this has actually been my issue with like comic books for a while now. I'm the first person to say we need more color in comics. I will be the first person to say it. I think representation is important. I wish that I had Miss Marvel when I was growing up because I grew up, in a Pakistani Indian household, and I wish that I had that comic. That was the comic that 9-year-old Bronze Girl needed in her life. I've even cosplayed Kamala Khan because it's so cool to look like a comic book character. Because I don't think people understand, like, that never happened before. Like, I don't look like Power Girl. And when you see all these comics and you're like, none of these look like me, it's so cool to have that. So I'm the first person to say it. But one of my biggest gripes is that what they do is I don't like when they replace certain comic book characters just for the sake of replacing them with a minority equivalent. Mm-hmm. I think with Green Lanterns, it made sense because there's so many Green Lanterns. There's different aliens. There's different species. Why can't we have a Black Lantern? It doesn't make any sense that we shouldn't have one. Exactly. And sometimes and even with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, I love that he does know Peter Parker and that they work together and that it's kind of like, it's like an older Peter Parker kind of ushering in this new generation. I think that he needed that because Batman's always had that in the form of Robin.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Iron Man is an Iron Man. Iron Man is Tony Stark. And nobody else has ever worn that suit.
Yeah, like Spider-Man
This
when...
is like one of my favorite superheroes. So this is like real. Like I'm sick. I am so upset right now because it's
She's not going to be the
she's
womanizing
not Tony
douchebag
Stark.
that you like.
And people are saying like, oh, you know, do you have a problem because she's black? No, I have a problem because it could have been anybody. It could have been another white guy, and I would have been pissed because it's not Tony Stark.
Right, and I was initially like, oh, this is cool. My initial thought was, nah, all right, because I don't necessarily care about Iron Man. I don't follow Iron Man's storyline, so I'm like, all right, cool. But I think you're right that like with a character like Spider-Man, you can Miles Morales can be just as much who we love as Spider-Man as Peter Parker is. This girl, unless she is a very unique Wonder Kid teenager, will be nothing like Tony Stark.
Right.
And with Iron Man, the world doesn't view just this, mystical suit that's a theme. The world knows it's Tony Stark in there, and that's part of that hero.
Everybody knows his identity. That's the other thing I was going to get to is everyone knows that Tony Stark is in the suit. So for somebody else to be thrust into it, I have so many questions too. Is it a suit that she's wearing that Tony made? Because even in that case, it's like, well, that means she's just a chick in a suit. I always get upset when people are like, you take away Iron Man's suit, what is he? And they even played on that in the movie. Like, no. Like, he made the suit. Did you get high and forget the part of his origin where he made his own suit? He's a genius.
Yeah, you took away the first world to put him in a cave, and he still made a suit. So that's who he is.
You know, you take away a suit, he'll make another one. That's the answer to that question.
In this case, though, apparently... She went to MIT when she was 15, this character,
so she's
and
smart.
built her own suit. So she's basically, if any of you guys know Steele's niece, Natasha Irons, is basically exactly that. My buddy and I had fun pointing out all the 15 characters that they've tried to make basically exactly this. So this is the next one. This is Natasha Irons. This is the new Power Girl. This is lots of characters. But, I mean, it's okay because those ones don't necessarily stick, and hopefully this one will, but... we're not necessarily optimistic because it's Iron Man, and that won't necessarily work. I think this is interesting. I wanted to talk about this because this came out, this news story was a Time exclusive. Time magazine was on their website. They didn't publish it in the magazine. But usually exclusives for comic book news like this are through comic book resources or comicbook.com. Sometimes through a magazine, but this is Time, which is a really big deal. They're like, hey, there's going to be this Black Girl Iron Man. Obviously, Marvel knows what it's doing. They want this to be sensationalized news. They want everybody to know. So, when exclusive interviews are done, what that means is if the interview came out today, the interview took place before today. And today is the day that the world learned about this. So this is an interesting question, because it's what's the reception of the character been so far? Which is not really a question that you would ask when they haven't announced the character.
Yeah.
And so I thought the question might mean how do your peers feel about it? How do the editors that you're working with feel about it? How do the people in the Marvel camp feel as we're all doing this thing? And Bendis basically just drops his own name and says, it's fine, it's me. He says, thankfully, because of my involvement in the creation of Miles Morales and Jessica Jones and some other characters, it's getting the benefit of the doubt from even the most surly fans.
I'm a surly fan, and he's not getting the benefit of it.
Also, he doesn't know that, because when he gave that interview, the fans had not heard this. Come on, Brian Bendis. You don't have to, come on. You don't have to just lie to us. You don't have to just pretend that it's better than it is. Fly in the face of it. Don't just say, oh, nobody's having a problem with it. Because then when it comes out and if people do have a problem with it, you seem naive because you tried to call it before it happened.
Exactly.
If somebody asks you about fan response, wait till there's a fan response. So anyway, Iron Man's coming out. It's going to be post-Civil War 2. And now I guess we're going to start...
my heart.
We're going to start just hearing about the end of Civil War 2 already, apparently. Which they did this with Secret Wars, where they announced a bunch of the things that were going to come out post-Secret Wars, so that by the end of Secret Wars, I didn't have any questions about what was going to happen next, because,
You know what I would have liked to have seen? If she was introduced as a side character and eventually took over and wore the suit.
That would be cool.
That would have been so much better.
If we knew this Riri Williams before now.
Yeah, because honestly, okay, let's be honest here. Riri... She's filling some pretty big shoes here. She's gonna have a hard time. There's gonna be a lot of people like me who are just gonna be like, well, she's not Tony Stark. Remember all the opposition when they changed Robins?
Oh yeah.
Because some shoes
times.
like are hard to fill, and there's a lot of people who to this day say Dick Grayson was the best Robin of all time, and the people who came after him didn't have the same shot that he did. You know, it's hard, and I think Tony Stark's are just the biggest shoes in the comic book universe, one of the biggest pairs of shoes to fill, and what I personally would like to see is maybe like if we could get more brown characters as villains, that would be kind of cool. I don't feel like that happens enough, but I would like to see that happen instead of systematically replacing all of our superheroes with brown and female equivalents. I think the reason I like Miss Marvel is Captain Marvel. We were talking about this before the cameras rolled. Captain Marvel, it's Carol Danvers had already moved on, and Kamala Khan actually has nothing really to do with Captain Marvel. It's not like she was her daughter. And because of that, they got to take liberties with the costume. I love that she wears a salwar kameez, and they got to go all out with it. And it wasn't all this like opposition of like you changed it. No, because we have Captain Marvel, and we also
Carol,
have
it's been
Kamala.
a long time since Carol had been Miss Marvel, right? She'd been Captain Marvel, she had been binary and all kinds of crazy shit.
It just worked for that comic book. And for this one, it's like she's not even going to get a fair chance right out of the gate, because if they give her some super feminine costume, that's going to be a problem. It's everything that they do is going to be looked at and compared to Tony Stark.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, granted, you have to fly in the face of that, because you can't just write a character that's Iron Man and ignore the Tony Stark. But like, it begs the question, how long until we get over that Tony Stark is an Iron Man? I think it's easier with Thor, you know, partially because Jason Aaron was totally crushing it in that series. Partially because the character that they made Thor was inherently part of Thor's universe.
Yeah.
And it sort of proved to us that, you know, being worthy and being a god and being the kind of standard dramatic hero that Thor is works for a lot of people. And I just think that
Let's hear this.
You're being silly, Bronze. Robins are replaceable meat shields that I change out every few years. One is as good as the next. Except Damian, he was a disappointment.
Damian was awesome. You got to go read more Grant Morrison's Batman run. No, I actually don't necessarily disagree with. There's actually an Ambush Bug miniseries, which Ambush Bug is, I would say, the Deadpool of the DC universe, but without being all Deadpool about it, because he's not exposed enough. But he's the fourth wall breaking character, exclusively comedic, knows he's in a comic book. Lots of good jokes based on like paneling. There's one book where he asked for backup, but they're like, the story runs a full 22 issues. There's no backup here. Great publishing joke about comics. Anyway, in that he runs into Batman, and Batman's like stalking outside of a school, like, which one of these could be Robin that can kill?
Oh my god,
like, it's hilarious. That's
Replaceable
not totally
meat
wrong
shields.
that Robins are replaceable meat shields.
I'm just
not as bad as Green Arrow with his speedies though.
I'm just now thinking of Venture Brothers with Captain Sunshine and the Wonder Boy, and yeah, my mind has gone into that downward spiral of small boys in costumes.
So yeah, Robins, meat shields. It's okay. But yeah, so with you were saying about Kamala Khan, it was easy to make her Captain Marvel, who didn't have all this baggage. Tony Stark's not going to work that way. We'll see how it goes. What I think is also interesting is that right now there's 2 Iron Man books. There's Invincible and International. What's going to happen there? Is it going to be one is going to be Tony and one is going to be Riri?
That's probably what they're going to do. And then when it doesn't sell well, they'll probably just table the Riri comic and stick with Tony. And then they can say, well, we threw a bone, and this is why we don't have black characters. They just don't sell. And it's like, well, you're not giving her a fair shot. Like, how is she supposed to have a fair shot when... Just make a new comic book character. And I know we were saying, like, oh, it might not sell, but I feel like Kamala Khan flies in the face of all that.
Yeah, and I think that's something said about, like, it's easy to look at the individual minority characters that have come out in the past, 20 years since we've really, like, begun to care, which we've only begun to as an industry, and be like, well, look at, a lot of them haven't worked, some of them have. There have been so many characters in 75 years. Like, the A-listers we have endured for 50 years. If we want there to be balance, we're going to need a fuck ton of minority characters. Lots of them are going to fail because most characters fail, right? We're going to have Kamala Khans, we're going to have Jane Fosters, and we're just going to need to keep on trying all over the place until there's enough to actually balance out and make it feel like the real world. But like that's what it's gonna take. There's gonna be these, and there's gonna be tons and tons of these, and the more there are, the less each one feels like a publicity stunt, and the more it feels like we're staffing up the world.
Yes. And I know people are saying like Kamala Khan, is a legacy name, but we just touched on that. Like there was no Miss Marvel when Kamala Khan stepped up. There just wasn't one, and I think that is the main difference. Is like Carol Danvers has moved on. She got the promotion to Captain Marvel. She's dating War Machine. She's moved on. Nobody's worn that suit. Nobody's used that name. And then the costume was different. Everything about it was different. The fact that she had no relation to Carol Danvers was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it makes more sense for a Robin to
that
take
first
over when
cover,
Dick has become Nightwing
was
than
like
for
the
just
Supergirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this would almost be like, it would be one thing if they gave Tony Stark the chop. He's been dead for several years. Nobody's wearing the suit. And in not just like in the comic book world, but in real life, nobody's worn the suit for several years. There's nothing going on. And then a few years down the line, they introduce this character. I think the reception would have been more positive. And I know you say you love Bronze's pessimism, but dude, I am negative as fuck, and I'm okay with that, because it's like, I'm not going to be fake positive and just be like, oh, I'm happy we have representation. No, representation is great, but I want good representation. I don't want a comic that's going to sell poorly and be chopped within a year. It makes no sense. And then, but they can say that then, like, oh, well, we did it. We definitely did it. And it just
look at all the ways in which we tried.
Yeah.
And so, every 2 years they can go back and forth.
It's like, oh, whatever.
We'll see what happens, but yeah, we're nervous. We're gonna check it out though, so Marvel still, will succeed there, and that by doing this thing, we're gonna check out this book. Like I wasn't gonna read the Iron Man #1 after Civil War 2, and now I am.
I'm gonna cry because
that I guess. Good job. Good job.
I hope you're happy, Bendis.
This is the whole. I think this is the fundamental misunderstanding of the way the industry works right now. Is both Marvel and DC do these big initiatives with a bunch of #1s, and they see the numbers they get when there's a bunch of #1s, and they try to hold on to those numbers as if that's not an inflated number.
Yeah.
You're never gonna hold on to pilot numbers. It just doesn't work that way. This isn't television, People check it out and then they decide. It's not the other way around. And so, with Marvel doing another Marvel now, it's like, well, we just want those #1 numbers, and by doing things like this, they get, that look in audience numbers, and this issue is going to sell 300,000, and that will finance the failure of the subsequent 8 issues, and then they do it again in 2 years.
Yep. My heart. And you know what? For the record, I would totally be Bronze Girl and be Iron Man's sidekick. So I don't know if that was a joke, but I would do it.
Would be an awesome name for Iron Man's sidekick.
All right, so hello, Marvel. Hello, I'm here. Feel free to contact me. I'll allow you to use my likeness. As far as movie deals, I'll be in touch. You know my Twitter.
Yes, you could tweet at that Bronze Girl, right? Or at Bronze Girl Games. Tweet at Bronze Girl Games if you need Bronze to be in your Iron Man movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get on to this next piece of news because the Harvey Award nominations came out. For those of you who don't know, the Harvey Award is named after Harvey Kurtzman, who founded Mad Magazine. And they are kind of one of the two big award shows in comics. There's more than two, but there's the Eisners and there's the Harveys, and those are the big ones, and all of it is fluff and award show stuff, but they're still noteworthy. This year, Valiant Entertainment has 46 nominations. That's more than anybody else. Valiant Comics straight crushing it these days.
Yeah, Year of Valiant.
Whose sidekick would I be? I don't know. Which superhero has the biggest beard? Because it'd be that one. I could be Beard Boy.
Beard Boy.
All right. Let's look at the Harvey nominations. For Best Letterer, they are... Should we go back and forth and do these announcements?
Huh?
Should we go back and forth, do these announcements award show style?
Yeah, sure.
And the nominees for Best Letterer are Aubrey Aisi from Lumberjanes, Dave Lanphier, who letters Divinity, Patricia Martin, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, Dave Sharp for Ninjak, and John Workman for Ragnarok. Ooh. 3 from Valiant, 1 from Boom, and 1 from ID. There's no Boob Studios. There's Boom Studios.
Say that now. But I just got the name from my new studio.
The new superhero, Bronze Girl from Boob Studios, coming soon. So cool. Lettering is apparently a big deal at Valiant. Letterers are, I don't want to say they're the unsung heroes of the comic book world, because there's everybody's the unsung hero of the comic book world. Artists are, inkers are, editors are, writers aren't. They're pretty well sung.
Yeah,
and pencilers.
I think
guess
writers probably
everybody
get
knows
the
about writers
most.
and pencilers, but your inkers and your letterers are the ones you should be really paying attention to. And this next category, people forget that these exist. Best colorist. Bronze?
The nominations for Best Colorist are Laura Allred for Silver Surfer, Ulysses Areola for Ninjak, David Barron, Divinity, Jordi Belair for Injection, Laura Martin for Ragnarok, and Brian Reber for Exo Manowar.
Forever Power, go! All right, now Marvel has donated this one.
Congrats, Bronze Girl. You've been cast in the next Iron Man movie. We hope you're a fan of Scarlett Johansson.
Who wants
Somebody follows me on Twitter and knows I don't like Scarlett Johansson.
Apparently, it's Marvel. All right, so one donation from Batman, one donation from Marvel. We have some pretty top tier viewers here today. I think hands down this has got to go to Silver Surfer
Oh, yeah.
because it's so vivid.
Oh,
it
yeah.
just works so well.
That was one of my polls of the week.
AJ in chat is talking about Divinity. I haven't read Divinity, but I believe him that it's also amazing because everybody who's read Divinity says it's awesome. Exo Manowar is awesome, but I don't see it topping Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer just looks so classic. I love it. I love it. I never thought I'd like that. I'd appreciate when that style came back, or when it comes back. But when it does, I'm like, you know what? This is nice. This is classic. I really like this.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Mike Allred's awesome. Best syndicated strip or panel. You can panel? Maybe it means I don't know. Maybe it means like syndicated panel comics. I'd be surprised if these just were like one panel nominated for it. But anyway, the nominees are Bizarro by Dan Peraro. That is not DC Comics Bizarro. This is its own thing. Bloom County by Berkeley Breathhead. Dick Tracy by Joe Staton and Mike Curtis. Mutts by Patrick McDonald. Pearls Before Swine by Stefan Hasties. And Phoebe and Her Unicorn by Dana Simpson. So these seem like maybe like Sunday morning cartoons?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's one more. Zippy the Pinhead by Bill Griffith. Best online comics work.
Albert the Alien by Trevor Mueller and Gabriel Batista. Battle Pug, Mike Norton. Bloom County 2015, Berkeley Breathed. Oh Joy Sex Toy, Erica Moen and Matthew Nolan. And Zombie Boy by Mark Stokes.
Those are your webcomics. You need to find all of those online right there.
You do it right now.
Read all of them. I've actually read a little bit of Oh Joy Sex Toy because I met the artist Erica Moen at Comic-Con one year. And it's literally just informational comics of how to use sex toys.
Well then.
That's what it is. It's very educational. Best American edition of foreign material. Cordo Maltese, Beyond the Windy Isles. IDW Publishing. One Punch Man. The Realist by Archaea and Boom Studios. Showa, 1953 to 1989. A History of Japan by Drawn and Quarterly. And Two Brothers by Dark Horse Books. Hey, Hyper Power Go! Thanks for doing it.
Big donation, warning, big donation, hype.
Hashtag Neonite would like to sponsor the new comic Bronze Girl and Beard Guy, coming soon.
Bronze Girl and Beard Guy by Neonet Publishing. Ask your local comic shop. Next category is Best Inker. Speaking of unsung heroes of the comic book industry.
Klaus Janson, I hope I got the name right. Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. Seth Mann, Ninjak. Danny Mickey, Batman. Tom Palmer, Bloodshot Reborn. Joe Rivera, The Valiant. Ryan Wynn, Divinity.
Inkers are total badasses. I've seen, I remember once I saw a panel-by-panel creation of, here's a Batman panel or a step-by-step creation, and the step between Greg Capullo's inks and Greg Capullo's pencil, Danny Mickey's inks, I was like, wow, turns out I'm a really big fan of Danny Mickey's than I never even realized. It turns out inkers are all that way.
For me, it's going to be between, I think, Batman and Dark Knight 3.
Yeah. And Klaus Janson in the inker category, what a fucking shock. that guy. Frank Miller's a turtle inker. I don't know anybody who's gotten more fame inking than Klaus Janson.
Right.
Nobody. Best New Series. The categories this year are Archie by Archie Comics, Bloodshot Reborn, Giant Days by Boom Studios, Paper Girls by Image Comics, and The Vision by Marvel Comics. I am very surprised these don't have the writers involved.
Yeah.
For those of you who want to know, I don't know who writes Giant Days, but I think it's Rick Remender. Archie is Mark Waid, Bloodshot Reborn is Jeff Lemire, Paper Girls is Brian K. Vaughan, and The Vision is Tom King. Most promising new talent.
Raul Allen, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. Did I get that name right?
I think so.
Is it okay? Robert Gill, Book of Death. Tom King, The Vision. Dan Mora, Klaus. Is that the name of the comic?
Yes, Klaus.
Oh, well, there you go. Wasn't familiar with it. Lisa Treyman, Giant Days.
This has been a good year, man. Wrath of the Eternal Warrior has impressed everybody who's put their eyeballs on it.
I really like Book of Death,
as did the Book of
too.
Death.
Yeah.
Tom King with The Vision and Omega Men secured an exclusive contract, and now he's writing Batman. Dan Mora, that book, Klaus, by the way, is Grant Morrison's All-Star Santa Claus. It's a retelling of the origin story of Santa Claus, and, like, I thought this guy, I was like, who is this artist? He must be a big shot I haven't heard of, because this book is so goddamn beautiful.
Really? I'll have to check it out.
I can't believe Dan Mora is a new talent, and nobody's figured it out since until now. And then I don't read Giant Days, so I don't know about Lisa Treyman, but I believe it's good. Special award for humor in comics. The nominees are James Asmus for Quantum and Woody Must Die, Elliot Callan for Unity, Michael Kupperman from Unity 25, Rafer Roberts, Exo Manowar, Fred Van Lente, Ivar Time Walker, and Chip Zdarsky for Howard the Duck.
I am fond of Howard the Duck.
It's going to be Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that. Not that I think Fred Van Lente is freaking hilarious. The next category is
Best Original Graphic Publication for Younger Readers, Giant Days, Lumberjanes, The Only Living Boy, Over the Garden Wall, and Space Dumplings.
That's so going to be Lumberjanes.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
It's the only thing I ever
I think they've got it in the bag.
I think they do. Best graphic album previously published. I think it's weird that they have these things. Here's something that's already happened. We'll give you another shot. Bloodshot Reborn Volume 1. Divinity, the Deluxe Edition hardcover. Ivar Time Walker Volume 1. The Less Than Epic Adventures of TJ and Maul. Ninjak Volume 1 and the Valiant Deluxe Edition. 5 Valiant comics.
Let's see. This is the special award for excellence in presentation. Bloodshot Reborn, Book of Death, Divinity, Ninjak, Peanuts, a tribute to Charles M. Schultz, and The Valiant.
So that's all these names on here. Presumably that's just like the best whole book, it seems. Best domestic reprint project, Archer and Armstrong, the classics, Crimson Volume 1 by Boom Studios, and all 3 volumes of the original Chris Priest Quantum and Woody run.
Oh,
And this will be our last category. So we gotta move on.
Best cover artist, David, is it Aya?
I
Aya?
think it's Aja, but I'm not
Aja.
certain.
David Aja, Hawkeye. Raul Allen, Ivar Tom Walker. Mike Del Mundo, Elektra. Yelena Kevik Dzirdovic, I'm sorry. Divinity, and David LaFuente for Wrath of the Eternal Warrior.
Yeah, so this seems to be the Valiant Awards.
Good year for
I'm just
Valiant.
gonna scroll down and see if there's anything particularly noteworthy. Oh, here we go. Best Continuing or Limited Series. Bitch Planet, Bloodshot Reborn, Book of Death, Divinity, Giant Days, Ninjak, Saga, Southern Bastards, and The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Ooh.
This is just ongoing. Lots of Bitch Planets are awesome, and all the Valiant ones are, of course, great. Category, Best Writer.
Ooh, Jason Aaron for Southern Bastards, Jeff Lemire for Bloodshot Reborn, Brian K. Vaughan for Saga, Mark Wade, Archie, and G. Willow Wilson for Miss Marvel. That's my pick.
There
I
you
just gotta
go.
say it. I love Miss Marvel.
Oh man, no. Apparently Southern. I think it's gonna be Southern Bastards or Miss Marvel. Those are the two that, like, as far as sheer writing goes, those are the ones that seem to be impressing everybody the most. The best artist, Greg Capullo on Batman, Jason Latour on Southern Bastards, Chris Samney on Daredevil, Fiona Staples for Saga, and Mako Swayon for Bloodshot Reborn. I just think if you're having an artist category, if Fiona Staples is in it,
Yeah.
it should go to Fiona Staples.
I think so. Yeah, Saga's gonna win.
She's just so good. It could have
It's
been
a
for
gorgeous
Saga.
comic.
It could have been for her Archie. It could have been anything. It could have been good. All right, we got cartoonists, single issues. That's all. Okay, so those are the Valiant Awards. The Harvey Awards are going to go to Valiant in a really big way this year.
Which is cool. It's kind of cool to see something that's not DC or Marvel get more recognition.
And it's cool to me that it's not DC or Marvel, but it's also not a third party. Like, it's easy to get into a Boom book or an Image book because they all stand alone, whereas Valiant is a superhero universe like DC and Marvel. They're just showing, like, this is how we really tightly edited. Like, you don't have to do 10 good books and 30 bad ones. You can just do 10 good ones. And that's what Valiant is proving to everybody. This news excites me. because I think WWE is fun.
I know
and
a lot of
we
people
miss
are
Aaron
going to be a
Kirby.
fan of this.
Zach, I'm glad Zach isn't here because he hates wrestling. But Boom Studios is going to be putting out WWE comics featuring John Cena. And that's basically the whole news story, but that's all you need. WWE comics featuring John Cena. WWE is very much like superheroes in a weird way. It's a little bit of soap opera, and then people in tights punch each other. Mm-hmm. And then you come back next week to see what happened next.
I'm shocked this is like the first real crossover.
Me too.
Because when you think about it, they all have like backstories and
Exactly. They've got these intricate backstories, masks, neon, everything's there.
After the Injustice comic run, I feel like this was a natural next step.
Yeah.
You know, because the Injustice was based off the video game, which to me felt just so ass backwards. A video game based off a comic book, and then based off a comic book based off the video game based off the comic book. It felt weird. This one actually seems more natural than that.
Yeah. But that book, have you actually read the comic?
Yes, it's actually decent.
Awesome. But
yeah.
but you're right, it's weird, you know, like, oh, we're doing this and then that, and this is like, well, wait, why don't I just read Batman? Why do you have to have me go through 4 different continuities to get to Batman? The answer is just read all 4, and then you'll be like me. And then you won't have any time to eat or do anything but read Batman. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm going to pick these up. We're going to talk about it. Man, this would have been a good way to get Aaron Kirby on the show, on Wednesday show, but he's off in Chicago being a badass now. This new story is exciting just because I think it says something about our culture that we're at a place where we can do this. But for his 75th anniversary, Brooklyn is going to be erecting a giant bronze statue of Captain America, which is super duper cool. Apparently, it'll first show up at they're going to build it for Comic-Con. It's like one of those World's Fair thing. They're making the statue for Comic-Con, and then they're going to send it to Brooklyn because of Captain America, and they're going to have a statue of Captain America. Says, I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, hometown pride, established 1941, celebrating 75 heroic years.
I get teary-eyed just looking at it.
Isn't it great? Like 5 years ago, maybe not 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nothing like this would have happened. We wouldn't have been a culture that would put a comic book figure as such a big part of our culture, having endured so long. And it is like this is one of the few purely American art forms is superhero comics. Like, we made this shit. Let's celebrate it.
And I'm so happy because it also kind of, as much as a lot of like comic book fans like to get upset about the MCU, what it's done is it's actually successfully undemonized. I don't know what the word would be, but comic books.
Yeah, it's made them
for the
mainstream.
longest time, it was like, oh, these are violent, they're terrible, bad influence on kids. And with this, it's like, no, we won.
Yeah.
You know, comic books won, you guys lost. And another thing I love about it is I've always described, like when people are like, why do you love comics so much? To me, it's like, well, as a girl who grew up in America, they are our mythology. These are our great stories. These are our sort of gods. And so this is just total, like, I love it so much. So we're going to have a giant bronze, like literally it makes me misty eyed because I'm just like, oh, he's like a hero, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. It's just, I think we need Captain America. Is it silly to say that?
No, not at all. I think if you view, the way I view most religions is a series of fictional and fantastical stories that are meant to teach us lessons, right? And that is exactly what superhero comics are, right? They are fictional stories, but they have, because of the themes and the heroism behind it all, they still teach us lessons. They teach us ethics. You know, I'm not one of those WWJD guys, but I think to myself, what would Clark Kent do from time to time? Like that to me is ethics, and that like. So for somebody, this is Captain America, Superman. These are kind of the Jesus, the Zeus, the Hercules of American mythology.
They're our folklore, they're our mythology, and I'm happy that their spot is secured, because one thing that always made me sad is that I feel like comic books aren't respected as art. And it kills my soul that we have so much censorship and all of this in comic books, because if you thought about censoring a painting or censoring a normally written book that wasn't a graphic novel, there would be outrage about that. But comic books just aren't a protected form of expression. And to me, it's like, you should feel sick or disturbed when you, like, art is controversy. It should provoke you. It should rile you up. And so the fact that a giant bronze statue of Captain America is going to be erected in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's an American art form akin to
just sealing
filmmaking.
comic books' place in history. And I hope that 1,000 years from now, when we're all dead and aliens come and discover planet Earth, they're going to see this and be like, this was like their Zeus. This is who they praised. And I'd be like, yep.
I hope in like
That was
23
the
years from now,
guy.
when it's Superman's 100, we get a big gold one in Kansas. That's what I want. That's what's next. Just give me a Superman statue I can visit.
That would have.
'Cause I just love that.
You and Superman. Do you know gold's not very resilient though, right?
I know. No, actually, the brass is a much better idea.
Yeah,
Or
the bronze,
Is
yeah.
it a bronze statue?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep. Oh,
There you go.
I can't wait to see it.
So
It's gonna be like a
that's gonna be
pilgrimage to
awesome.
go to Brooklyn and see
Yeah.
it.
It really is. Not to mention that New York, as a location, is the birthplace of comics, right? That's where Marvel Comics started, where DC Comics started. That's where, that's where two Jews were like, what about Superman?
Yeah.
New York is the birthplace of superhero comics. So there's nowhere more appropriate.
Oh my God, there's gonna be 750 12-inch tall statues in bronze.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Order right now. Order your replica.
I'm gonna start a Kickstarter to get somebody to give me money to buy it.
Okay. Mrs. Cashew, you're absolutely right. The Superman statue should be steel.
Oh, it
should be
should
made of
be.
steel. I feel like it should
Man
be
of
painted because then it
Steel.
would look like steel.
Yeah.
Because there's already there is a steel Superman, steel. But you're right. He's the Man of Steel. Should be a steel statue.
That would be lovely.
I defer to your judgment on this one. All right. Do we want to talk? This is the last piece of news. It's like technically news, but it's also not, I guess. This guy's gonna be in Justice League. I guess this is news. Julian Lewis Jones. What's interesting to me about this is that he says, "Let's just say I have a role in what will likely be the most expensive film ever made. It's got Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons and stuff." So he says, "I'm going to be in Justice League," but for some reason he seems like he's not allowed to say I'm in Justice League, but he's also allowed to say all these things that make it very clear that he is. So I have no idea why he chose that language, but more bona fide badass actors are being cast. Like I'm starting to worry about Justice League maybe turning into a diva show. Like all these like really expensive actors, if it's gonna be like, well, okay, crap, we can only afford that guy to be in 12 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Because we have that guy in 14 minutes of the movie, and that already cost $4 billion. Like we'll see what happens. But that's the end of the news. So it's time to get to comic book talk.
Ooh.
Joe, serenade us with your talents.
Comic book day, comic book day. We're gonna open some books on comic book day. Zach's on my left, you're on my right. Comic book day.
Oh God. Yeah. So it is comic book day. We will talk about
That never
comic
gets
books.
old.
It really doesn't. So, Comic Book Day here at Hyper RPG is brought to you by Alter Ego Collectibles here in Redmond, where we record this fine show at the Crossroads. They have this really cool website that you can see right here. It's got today's comics as they've come out, but it is ordered by how many people at this specific store are subscribed to them. So you get a little snapshot. Hey, Hyper Epic Power, go! Thank you, Rubik 7.
I've never really been into comic books. Last Friday, the copies of Volume 1 of Eternal Warrior and Volume 1 of Wrath of the Eternal Warrior that I ordered arrived. Have enjoyed them greatly, so thanks Scott and Zach for letting me know about Valiant.
Well, I'm just glad you're reading comics. It's like what you said. Comics are real shit. Like, if people who've like never thought about getting into comics, and they do, they're like, oh, this is just a fiction medium, and it's badass. So I'm glad you enjoyed those books. Eternal Warrior is awesome. Eternal Warrior is also really easy to get into because a lot of his stories are just like, here's this thing in time that happened, and it doesn't worry about all the stuff. So I'm glad you enjoyed them. Keep on reading. So anyway, Alter Ego Collectibles has hooked us up with this sweet website. For those of you who are just joining us now for Comic Book Talk, this is Hyper RPG, hyperactive, interactive, premium quality Twitch channel focusing on digital and analog gaming, powered by you, the viewers. And this here on Rabbit Stew, we talk about comic books on Wednesday. So that's what we're about to do. The number one comic here at Alter Ego Collectibles is Tokyo Ghost, which I'm pretty sure neither of us read, right?
No.
This is Rick Remender's. This is Rick Remender's book, one of Rick Remender's books with Sean Murphy. This is ending in the next issue, number 9. So catch up, I guess. But I'm pretty certain you read this one because you've been all about Han Solo. Number 2 came out today.
I've been about all the Star Wars comics. I feel like it's so weird that like I get so out of like my Marvel stack. I'm always so excited to see the Star Wars ones because I never thought that would be me, but it totally is. And I love Han Solo #2.
It's awesome. So what happens in this comic?
So it actually starts off exactly where #1 ends. Basically, in the #1, Leia enlists the help of Han Solo to try to uncover a potential spy within the rebel forces. And she sends him on this mission to kind of make a meeting or have a drop with like a rebel contact, but she doesn't know who else to trust. So they actually did a really good job of explaining why out of all people she chose to go to Han Solo. It's like, come on, you have a whole army underneath you. Why'd you choose this guy, your ex-boyfriend, you know? But they actually explain it, and he has to basically take part in the world's most dangerous race.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, so it's super fun, it's super interesting, and the last comic book ends with a bunch of ships exploding.
Her brother's like the best pilot, though.
But they need the Falcon.
I see. That's what, it's not about Han, it's about the Falcon.
Yes, and originally when she approaches him, she asks for the ship, and of course, what does Han say?
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, no, So he ends, him and Chewie enter this race. It's super dangerous. It ends on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I love it. It is kind of cool because it's just like this super cool race. Like
That's awesome.
This entire book is just like things exploding and them attacking each other, and it's awesome. I love it.
That's what you want out of a Han Solo comic. Is that? Let me look at this cover. Is that Greedo? Is this the scene?
Yes,
All right, look at that.
the controversial scene.
Han shot first. The cover.
Yeah, I don't see any marks on the wall behind him. So
Nope.
yeah, no, he definitely.
Oh yeah, spoilers. Han lives in this book. Nobody stabs him or anything. All right, more Star Wars. Did you check out the Poe Dameron that came out?
I've been reading this series, but I didn't have a chance to read this one before the show.
All right, the next stop on Poe's mission is Gracchus the Hutt. But Gracchus has been in Republican prison for years. You know what that means. Poe directly to jail. Apparently. Is that supposed to be a pun? Like,
Poe
instead of go directly to jail, it's Poe directly to jail.
It's reaching a little bit.
Reaching a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. They tried.
I'm down for more Hutts. I think the Hutts are super cool.
Yeah, they
This,
are.
like super hedonistic gangster race of slugs. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. I like them too.
Poe Dameron, #4. Let's see. Invader Zim. Are you reading Invader Zim?
I actually just recently unsubscribed to it.
Oh no.
If I'm being
They
totally
lost ya?
honest. I took it out of my box.
That's a shame.
I mean, it's fun. It's just, I don't think it's for me.
This looks like, so this is apparently a special one-shot, written and illustrated by Sarah Anderson from Sarah's Scribbles. Gurr brings home a flea-ridden stray cat. Zim is furious until he finds out what the cat does to Dib. Dib sneezing and covered in hives could be the magical powers this cat has. Okay, so Zim discovers allergies and thinks it's a superpower.
Yes.
That's cute.
No, it is cute. It is cute. I think maybe I've just outgrown it.
Yeah, it's funny. There are a lot of things that, like, when you loved it as a kid, or, you know, I think with Invader Zim, like, I loved it as, like, a preteen.
Yeah.
A specific age to, like, be
There's
into
times
that
where I just
sort
get
of
frustrated
style.
with the comic. I remember loving, Gurr. And there's times this comic I'm like, God damn it, Gurr, why can't you do anything right? And I feel like Zim.
Yeah.
I've become Zim, And before I used to be like, tacos! And now I'm like, oh my god, this little creature just ruins everything.
That's the true plan of Invader Zim, is to turn you into Zim.
Yes! It's like,
So
you know
that
how
you'll
when
wanna
you're a
take
kid
over
and
their-
you watch like the Roadrunner show?
Yeah.
And the beginning you're like, oh yeah, go Roadrunner. And when you
just
get older,
feel
you're like,
so
this
bad.
poor freaking coyote.
Right? There's just this, like,
This is such an
psychopathic
asshole Roadrunner.
Just leave the coyote alone.
Cycle
Like,
is complete. I am now Invader Zim. I just get frustrated when I read it. I'm just like, God, nothing was right for this guy.
shame. Yeah, there's something to be said about, like, especially also some things translate well. With the character of Gurr, I think he works really well because that voice is really funny.
Yes.
And, like, when he says a lot of words really fast, that's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of words in a comic isn't really fast. The more words, the slower you read. That's true for reading in general. So, like, it doesn't, work the same.
Yeah.
But Invader Zim. It happens. Apparently people
I'm an angry alien trying to take over the world now.
are you reading Spider-Man?
No.
Spider-Man. So we have Mary Jane on the cover of this with the Iron Spider suit. Power play comes to its rousing conclusion. Regent's master plan is working until Mary Jane Watson gets into the fray, apparently with this Iron Spider suit. At least Mary Jane is back in a Spider-Man comic.
Yes.
So at least that's happening. So that's like,
Who do you like more, Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane?
I don't. I would say technically Mary Jane, but there's a big old asterisk in that I haven't read that much of either. I'm not super well versed in the Spider-Man, so I don't necessarily have that informative an opinion on it. In general, like my favorite Spider-Man book, because I haven't read that many, is Jeff Loeb's Spider-Man Blue, because I love Loeb and Sale and I love what they do. And that book is kind of all about Peter being in love with both.
Oh.
And I've sort of always liked that part of Peter, and that, you know, in comics we have so much of the Superman and Lois thing where it's like there's only ever one person, and like love doesn't work that way. You could fall in love and you could fall out of love, and you could be in love twice and you could be in love again, you could be in love at the same time, and emotions are clumsy and complicated. And Peter Parker embodies that in a real way. So I have to bitch out of the question basically and be like, neither. Peter Parker's my answer. So I don't give a shit, I like Peter.
You choose Peter over both of them.
Yeah, how about you?
Gwen.
You're a Gwen fan?
Yeah, mostly because now I got to kind of know her more because of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of warmed me up to her quite a bit, and I get to see her sort of interactions with Spider-Woman and Silk, and it just kind of makes me, I don't know, warm me up to her a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, and that's also like anybody who has a solo story is going to be super interesting, and also Spider-Gwen specifically is great, and people love it. I read this one, Batman #2. Tom King and David Finch continue their Batman story with Gotham and Gotham Girl. Did you check this one out?
No.
It's pretty good. It is setting up we finally get our villain in this issue.
Oh, okay. Who are they going for as a villain?
Who I'm actually not going to answer that because it's revealed on the last page.
Oh, okay. So it's like a...
But earlier on, there is, and I'll spoil this because if you know what this means, you'll know what it means by like the third page when they say it. Is they talk about the Monster Men, where if you know the book Batman and the Monster Men, it's that villain.
Okay.
So the three of you who get that reference, good for you guys.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest.
I was very surprised that it seems like the Gotham and Gotham Girl, these superheroes, they don't seem to be involved with the villain, and the sort of evil thing happens in Jim Gordon's sphere perspective, not in Batman's perspective, while he's just dealing with these two superheroes. So they're not intertwined yet, which is interesting because I'm really curious about why these superheroes are here and what we're going to explore with them. But Batman is at the very least like kind of training them.
I might have to give it a try. I think what happened was I read the Batman Detective Comics #1, and then I read Batman #1. And I like the Detective Comics so much more that I'm kind of holding out for that. And so I'm just waiting for that one.
Yeah, I get that. Although I found the second issue of that
Azrael,
Detective Comics, I wasn't as into as much.
Really?
Yeah, mostly like they just like the first one was so good, and the second one I was like, but wait, all these things all sort of happened, but it was still pretty good.
I always assume the second comic is going to be the weakest in the series.
That's usually the case.
Almost
You're
always
actually right
is,
about that.
you know? And it's so cool to
They had a great introduction. We don't have time to get
so
to the
much
good
attention
thing yet.
lately.
Yeah, they
was in the Grayson
reintroduced
Annual.
him. They reintroduced him in Batman and Robin Eternal recently. And so
really?
yeah, since they just kind of reintroduced the character, they're building up this new, more high-tech version of him.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
like
awesome.
him.
I miss Grant Morrison's version of him, the Michael Lane one. The black kid who was like brainwashed and didn't like know he was Azrael, at least didn't know that Azrael wanted to kill Batman. He's the Azrael that's in the Arkham Knight video game?
Yeah.
That's Grant Morrison's Azrael. That's the other one. That one's cool. We haven't seen him since, but the new one's also awesome, and it's in Detective Comics, which is a great book. The Walking Dead 156 blew my mind today. This issue is called Queen and King. This issue has two characters in it. It is just Negan and Alpha through the entire time. Actually, sorry, that's not true. There's a little bit of Beta, there's a little bit of the Whisperers, but it's really just a big conversation between Negan and Alpha and about what this Whisperer culture is and how Negan basically just sees through it. There are a lot of things that Alpha says, like, we don't have names, and Negan's like, you're Alpha, you're Beta, that's a fucking name. You can call it whatever you want. You say we don't have names, you just renamed yourself. And like one of the things they talk about is that to be the leader of this culture, you have to be the strongest. You know, basically if you can kill or beat up the leader, you could be the Alpha. But there's this big giant dude, Beta, who protects Alpha, and Alpha rejects the concept that she is protected. And Negan's like, don't fucking lie to me. I know exactly what's going on. You're being protected. I see this culture. And she's like, maybe you do belong here. Maybe you do understand. So Negan is getting super villainy. He does things that surprises me a lot at the end of this book. Again, I'm not going to talk about that, just like the end of the last book, because ends in storytelling. But I mean, 156 issues in, The Walking Dead continues to be like this. This was only narrowly beaten out.
I'm like
for
just
pull of the week this week.
starting getting into The Walking Dead. Isn't
it's
that
a
weird?
long- it's a
I
long
just started
haul.
getting into Hellboy and I just started getting into The Walking Dead because I wasn't familiar with them at all.
Hmm.
And now I'm like, I gotta try them out.
I mean, that's the story of comics, right? Like, there's so many that there's always going to be a giant run that like fucking everybody has read that you still haven't even started yet.
Yep. It still blows my mind like that now that there's a Preacher show. It blows my mind so many people haven't read Preacher.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm
it's
like, what? Because that's
yeah,
what I got
'cause you
started
think
with.
everybody's
Sandman
read
and
Preacher.
Preacher.
You think everybody's read Sandman,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm like, everybody's read Sandman. And every
think
time I like
everybody's read
make a
Hellboy.
reference to Sandman, people are like, what? I'm like,
You find that
read
everybody's heard of Sandman.
yeah.
It's one of those things. Which I guess that's also part of the problem of comics. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, this thing is awesome. And you're like, really, you've read that? And they're like, no, but I saw the Wikipedia page.
He announced he's writing a new book.
He's coming, another Sandman book or just more
No,
books?
it's gonna be a book on Norse mythology. I think is what he
Ooh,
said.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. New.
Excited.
Exciting. Writer's
I would
gonna
rather
write.
it be a graphic novel, but he basically said he's never doing that again. So
That's a shame, man.
he said he doesn't like the deadlines for an ongoing series.
Yeah, that actually absolutely understand
Oh.
that he doesn't want to do that. But like, he should at least there'll never be a point at which Neil Gaiman can't go to DC and be like, I want to do a miniseries about Sandman. They'll always be
Yeah.
like, yes, we will take that free paycheck, thank you. Right? Like we recently got Sandman Overture.
Yes, yeah, we did.
Like, boom.
The
you can
art
do
for that was so amazing, by the way. It was crazy.
That's funny. We were talking about Fiona Staples, as I said, is probably the best artist. I only say that because sometimes I forget about J.H. Williams III, who I actually think is the single best artist in the entire industry. So amazing.
That was probably one of the few comics where I bought all the comics and all the variant covers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have them all. I have them all bagged and boarded inside my house.
That's
TGC
that's what
rated.
you're supposed to do with comics. You bag and board them. Don't just let them sit out. It's bad. That's actually not bad advice from Eternal Night. Don't read too much Walking Dead at once because they're downers. It is
Ooh, really?
not an optimistic comic.
I'm playing the Telltale video game right now, and I get upset. Like I've like slammed my fists on my desk. So I can imagine the book would probably also
Yeah.
be because I've heard it's pretty good. It's pretty true to source material. Is that true?
The Telltale game?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in that, yeah, it actually sort of fits into the comic book world where, like,
Okay.
the TV show is basically, the TV show is an adaptation kind of like superhero adaptations are, where it's the same name and stuff, but they tell their own story with just similar themes. Whereas, yeah, the game is new characters that weave in through the comic book storyline. Although that's like, you enter like the second and third trades
Okay.
in that, which was super long ago. But yeah, it's super duper great. I love The Walking Dead. Black Science, another Rick Remender book. You reading this one?
No.
A new story arc begins. This one, in a hot-headed attempt to rescue his daughter, Grant McKay threatens to unravel a peace treaty between three godlike races, putting the entire Eververse at risk. Big changes, bigger action, and a stunning climax that will shake the world of Black Science to its very foundations. How does Rick Remender find so much time to write? This dude just writes every book. I don't even know. Okay, let's go. Did you...
Oh, chat's triggering me. Don't fold your comics in half.
No,
why
what are
would you do
doing?
that?
Why?
When I see people like lick their fingers and touch their comic books, I'm like, oh, I like spaz.
Yeah, like, you know,
Like, why are you
see
licking
those,
your
like,
fingers? That's
DIY
first of all,
like
that's
comic
gross.
box online, like you would cut up your comics and use it. No matter how, like, I have some awful comics that I have because nobody will love them like me. Like, I couldn't tear them up. I have them to look at them and
Why would you dog your pages in your comics? They're so short. You can read them in one sitting.
Yeah, come on. Just get a really small bookmark. All right.
Bronze triggered.
So you want bags, you want boards, you want to keep your comics safe, you don't want to bend them, you don't turn them back on themselves like a magazine when you read them. It's art. It's hand-drawn art. That's then reprinted, but it's hand-drawn art that you're getting really cheap. You should respect it. Okay.
Trigger face for the rest of the issue.
All right. Are you reading Empress?
No.
How about are you keeping up on Iron Man?
Yes, I am.
All right. I flipped through this only because I wanted to see if it would be affected by the Inhumans issue where they ruined Iron Man's life, and it seems that the answer is no.
No, I thought that was weird. There was like
Not
no
at all.
crossover.
Yep.
I can't even talk about Iron Man right now.
because
I'm just gonna be honest. I just can't.
You're just too salty about the news.
I'm depressed. Legitimately depressed over this.
This is part of the road to Civil War. During the last Civil War, Tony Stark and Captain America battled to the bitter end. Now they
Dead
find
inside.
themselves on the same side. Or do they? Is it Steve Rogers or Tony Stark? So this seems like basically we're gonna just. I'll bet this issue is full of. Let's just skip all the references to Civil War I we have to make and move on. Is that basically what it is?
Honestly, all the Road to Civil War comics so far, if I'm just full disclosure, haven't been that great.
Why are there still Road to Civil War comics after it started?
I don't know.
It's not usually how.
They just haven't been very great. I just haven't liked them very much. So I didn't like the Captain Marvel one either. I think I did like this one, but once again, it's because it's Iron Man. It's not wise to ask me about anything Iron Man related because I usually will give it a pass.
Yeah.
I'm honest about it though.
Okay.
So
even though he's like your favorite hero.
yeah, I give it a pass. I'm like, and by that I mean I let it get away with shit I wouldn't let other comics get away with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
District 44, we did see the announcement of the new Iron Man. We talked about it at the top of the show. And we're just nervous. It's a good concept, but it's tough with Iron Man.
Nervous, depressed, getting ulcers, same thing.
All those things. I'm not as invested in Iron Man, so I'm just like, okay, let's give it a shot. Deadpool v Gambit, the V is for Versus. More taking the piss out of BVS by Ben Acker. Deadpool and Gambit have put aside their differences to pull one last scam, swindling an object of mythical power from under a Chinese businessman. Spoiler, it doesn't go according to plan. Can they talk their way out of this one? I feel like this is fan service, run amok. Deadpool v Gambit, the V is for Versus. I don't know. The cover art is really cool on it, though.
It is. I like the art style too.
That's all I think.
Honestly, I'm just not a big fan of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't dislike him, but he's not like my favorite. And the other thing is he's just in so much right now. Mm-hmm. There's like
he's everywhere. Like
he's everywhere.
It's not uncommon for some characters to be everywhere, but he's excessively everywhere right now.
So that makes me kind of feel burnt out on him.
It's like, okay, this is for people who just are like, oh, I'll just get every other comic. Like if I read Marvel like I read DC, I'd probably be reading this, but it's gonna take somebody like that.
Yeah. Speaking of, Gwenpool was like terrible, but that's different.
Oh, was it?
I hate that comic. I think there was a new one that dropped this week, but can't stand it.
Justice League Rebirth #1 came out this week. So this is sort of spinning out of the events of DC Rebirth. The most noteworthy thing that happens in it, from my perspective, was that Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz joined the Justice League.
Yes.
Appropriately. Mm-hmm. Which is awesome because, they need more credit, I think.
Well, I think this one really cemented what's going to be the difference between Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns. Mm-hmm. And the Green Lanterns run, because they're two different Green Lanterns runs right now.
Yeah.
And I think that basically, from my interpretation, is that Jessica and Baz are going to be on Earth, and they're kind of taking up that part of it.
Ooh, elegant syntax. Thank you for following.
Welcome. And I feel like they're going to be taking... I feel like it's almost like a passing of the torch, because the timing for this comic and the other one is so perfect.
Swifty Chaos, thank you as well for following.
The timing is like to this point where I think that I actually like it. So you have Hal Jordan, who has his lanterns, and they're in outer space, and they're back to being space police, which is really nice. And I think but they can't obviously not have a lantern on the Justice League.
Right.
So I feel like...
And you can't not have a lantern on Earth.
Yeah. And for Sector 2814 in general. So I feel like this makes sense. So I think this is like the perfect transition of them trying to explain to us as readers, like, Hal's gone, Hal's doing his own thing in outer space. These are your lanterns. Get used to them. Yeah,
and there's, they of course now have to work with the Justice League in a way that is going to be different than Hal. Mm-hmm. Barry inherently, it seems like, is untrusting of them because Hal's his best friend, and so he's going to be like this. The same thing happened when Kyle Rayner joined the Justice League. Wally West was like, "Whoa, who are you?" It's bright. What's weird though is that this was written and drawn by Brian Hitch, who has been doing JLA recently. His JLA run got 8 issues in, and the last 4 issues have been delayed. They're going to come out, according to his Twitter, but they've not come out. So it's weird to be starting a new storyline by this writer and artist in Justice League. Oh, hey, Hyper Rabbit Power, go! Thank you, Sour Fruit Junkie.
Hey, Steph.
Am I the only person that's bored with Wonder Woman? Come on, Diana, give it a rest.
Oh, yes, you are.
I can empathize. I feel like a lot of characters have been overhauled over time, and I feel like she's one that hasn't.
Yeah, but I would say, like Batman and Superman, you don't need to be, you don't want to overhaul them that much because they're like.
No,
They're
but
so classic.
a little bit of change would be okay.
She has changed a little bit. She's gotten more. She's definitely gotten less bondagey. Although she still, she still has the submission thing. That is one of her themes. The new Wonder Woman right now is absolutely amazing.
No, it is good.
I think the problem isn't that she needs to be revamped. The problem is that her world needs to be revamped.
You know what? I agree wholeheartedly with that. One thing,
know Wonder Woman.
Every time I crack open a Wonder Woman comic, you know what the first thing I'm bored by is? Her villains.
Yeah, and it's because you don't have.
They're kind of lame.
You don't have a Lex Luthor or a Joker. Like who's the Wonder Woman villain everybody knows? Cheetah.
Yeah,
and Cheetah's not really.
She's
kind
of terrible.
Yeah. The new Cheetah seems really cool. There's potential,
I like
but
her in Suicide Squad actually.
Yeah.
I think she does
the
well in
animalistic
Suicide
version.
Squad. Yeah.
And so that's cool, but it's. I think it's that people just need to become familiar with her rogues gallery because that often is, I think, what really helps sell superheroes.
Well, I think
especially
like
the DC
she's
ones.
an A-lister. I think we can all agree on that. She's timeless, but she doesn't have the timeless villains, and she doesn't have like you look. Batman has the best villains.
Yeah, absolutely. And
all of them have iconic villains, I think. But with Wonder Woman to be like this big A-lister and to have kind of nothing, like. I mean, we could say Cheetah, but like, let's be honest here. Nobody kind of gives a crap about Cheetah.
Right.
So
I think Wonder Woman also sort of dares heroes to put their money or readers to put their money where their mouth are. People say all the time, "We love Wonder Woman. We want Wonder Woman. We want a Wonder Woman villain. This, that, the other. We want a Wonder Woman movie. We want more of Wonder Woman." But then consistently, people like there's a Wonder Woman book. It's been coming out for 75 years. People don't buy that. I'm baffled by the amount of people that are like, "Oh, Wonder Woman this. I want good Wonder Woman. I want more Wonder Woman. This, that about Wonder Woman." And then I'm like. Do you read Wonder Woman? And they're like, no, I couldn't do that. And I'm like, well, then shut the fuck up.
I think she does.
If you care about a character, at least check them out before you decide.
I feel like they need to like relaunch her just so people will get reacquainted with her.
I have good news. Wonder Woman Rebirth just came out last month.
Yes.
That's what Rebirth is for.
Yes. I kind of wish that they had changed her costume a bit. After they came out with the Injustice, especially the variant for the UK edition where she had the carbon fiber pants, I was like, "Ooh,
yeah!" And
I can get behind this. I really like this.
Yeah, I think the problem that they run into because they do that all the time, where they'll do a new neat costume and go back to something that very much resembles the original.
Yeah.
Because I think that advertises better, and part of it's an artist thing. Like Brian Hitch, before he started drawing Justice League, said he's excited. Like in his mind, the Justice League are figures with spray painted on costumes. That's the classic of the DC universe, right? It's like Batman and Superman are just like naked with lines on them. That's how you draw them as an artist. You don't even worry about clothes or armor. And so for that reason, he made like his JLA was just like, I'm just using classic Wonder Woman's costume, even though Wonder Woman at the time was using the new costume with the pants and the tall boots.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So yeah, they just don't commit to it, which is a drag.
I compare it to a character like Captain Marvel, and in my opinion, I feel like Captain Marvel's taken a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a combination of costume and good writing and
I think it's also that Captain Marvel, people don't talk about Captain Marvel. People don't say they love Captain Marvel unless they've heard of and read Captain Marvel because she's just not in the mythos.
Carol Corps is such a big thing.
Well, it's a big thing amongst geeks and comic book readers on the internet.
Fair enough.
But like Wonder Woman is, you see, like there aren't people who have
You
never
can buy
even,
Wonder Woman shirts at Target.
Yeah, there aren't
and
people
you
who
can't
have
do that
never
with
read
Captain Marvel.
comic books that are wearing Carol Corps shirts. People, there are tons of women that just latch onto Wonder Woman because she's one of the first huge female solo characters in literature.
She's the iconic female
because
superhero.
there weren't that many female solo leads in 1940, right? We weren't doing that much, and we still aren't. But this was the first one in comics, so it's it's the eternal conflict. Is we're stuck between history and modernism in comics.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
But hopefully the new run is hopefully going to have Dr. Psycho as the main villain, who is my favorite Wonder Woman villain. He's this short. White dude that's just like super entitled and just kind of sees Wonder Woman as the theme as a theme of like the things that other people get that he doesn't get, attractive women, money, that's the other thing. And so because he doesn't get what other people gets, he takes it all out on specifically on the attractive women of the world, right? Which I think is like that to me is like the perfect Wonder Woman villain, the entitled white guy who hates women because they don't just give him whatever he wants.
Right.
I love Dr. Psycho. He's going to be the new villain apparently. But like nobody's heard of Dr. Psycho. Nobody knows that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Greg Rucka tried to give her a Lex Luthor type character in Veronica Cale in 2003. and nobody's heard of that either, right? Because people love Wonder Woman, but they don't actually buy her book. And I think she also needs like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, why do we all know Batman's Rogues Gallery? Because Batman the Animated Series. That's why people think
And it was
Mr.
so
Freeze is a good
huge.
villain. Mr.
Yeah.
Freeze is a good villain in one episode
Same
of a
thing
cartoon,
with
and that's it.
Spider-Man. You know, Spider-Man had a great
Spider-Man and the X-Men have had TV shows on consistently for like 20 years.
Yeah. Whereas
Spider-Man for
Wonder
like 40
Woman has
years.
always just been in the Justice League, and unfortunately, that just means she's fighting the same people as everybody else.
Right, yeah, like the only Wonder Woman villain that ever gets to be in the Justice League is Cheetah when she's hanging out with an Injustice League or Legion of Doom or something.
She's a B-lister.
Yeah, well, sometimes we get Ares and sometimes we get Cersei, but the problem with that, and this is why I'm really glad Greek mythology isn't part of the new Wonder Woman run, is that story is a Greek mythology story. That story is not a Wonder Woman story. The Brian Azzarello run that was 3 years long that I absolutely love still was an Odyssey, a mythological story. It was not about Wonder Woman the superhero. It was about Wonder Woman the god, and I want Wonder Woman the superhero back.
Yeah.
You know? None of that was in Justice League, but we like Wonder Woman here. Justice League Rebirth was really good. It's also got the new Superman meeting the Justice League, and Batman's like, we should bring Superman on so we can watch him. Which, like 3 years ago, he said that about Lex Luthor, and now Lex Luthor just became like the god of apocalypse and is the superhero of Metropolis. So that didn't work well at all. So I don't know why he thinks this is going to work better. But it's the beginning of Justice League. It's very much in the spirit of the Rebirth issues. It's like, welcome to this team.
Yep.
This is what Justice League feels like. If you're a Brian Hitch fan, it's got all the Brian Hitch you want. It's got widescreen action. It's big. There's a giant spaceship over New York. It's really fun. Punisher. Are you reading this new Punisher series?
I am, but I
Ooh,
haven't
Dylan?
read this one.
All right. How's the series so far?
It's good. I like it.
What's going on besides Punisher shooting people in it?
Well, I've only read the first one.
Okay. Okay.
Well, okay. So I was actually really excited because last week I was talking about it because I actually couldn't get my paws on the first Punisher until like 2 weeks ago.
Oh no.
It took tracking down.
That
And Green Arrow have been the comics
yeah,
that have been
everybody
the
was going
hardest
for Green Arrow.
to track down. What I have read so far, I really, really like.
Cool. On the trail of a horrific drug EMC, Frank Castle lands on the doorstep of a crew of bloodthirsty Appalachian warriors. But the leader of the group knows the Punisher's brutal style and is prepared to fight fire with fire on an innocent bystander. In the midst of the carnage, how will Frank away the crimes of Condor against the life of an innocent? I assume it's going to be he kills Condor and saves the innocent person.
I assume so, yeah.
That's what Punisher does. Saint Escapee, we have not set our picks of the week yet. We will get there. So Punisher is apparently good and
I like
hard
it.
to find.
I like it. It took me a while. I don't know if somebody else has a hookup. Because the other thing is I don't like second printings.
Oh, you got to find the first? I see.
I'm really picky about my comic
what you got to
book.
do then is just read the second printing in the shop. So at least you got
I
the
know,
story,
right?
Like, you
While
can
I try to track down the first one.
Like I still don't have a copy of the first issue of Joyride, but I've read the first issue of Joyride. But I'm still trying to find that copy. And that's not because I'm trying to find the first issue, just because everybody keeps buying it so fast. Everybody's checking it out. Superman #2, The Son of Superman, Chapter 2. This is a different cover than I have. I'm surprised this is a variant cover, whereas this is the cover I have. This is the normal one. Superman flying.
What is that cover?
This appears to be, these glasses signify a Superman villain called the Eradicator.
And then you see him reflected in it.
Yeah,
For a second, I couldn't tell. I was like, is a man that's on fire? I couldn't tell what I was looking at, but now I see it.
It sort of is. So the Eradicator shows up in this issue, and he's sort of like a little villainy, or a little fiery the way he does this. Like he sort of comes out of this energy thing. I don't fully know what's going on with him yet. The Eradicator was from the classic Death of Superman storyline. After Superman died, there were 4 pretenders to the throne. Superboy, Steel, Cyborg Superman, and the Eradicator, who was also known as the last son of Krypton. He's like an old evil robot from Krypton. He's a Kryptonite. He's a Kryptonian killer robot called the Eradicator, who pretended to be Superman and is now back, and he's going to kick a bunch of ass. This issue had a bunch of awesome Superboy. He's not really calling himself that, but it opens up with Superman basically teaching his son, like, this is what we do when we're out in the field.
Okay.
It's beautiful. I will read as much of Superman and his son as they continue to write. I am loving it.
You're such a fanboy.
I am such a fanboy.
I love it.
See, I'm not. I'm like
I'm not a Superman fan, so I like it. I feel like
because I'm not a pessimistic comic book fan. Like all the other comic book fans I know are more cynical
I think
and pessimistic.
that's why this works.
And that's why they all read Marvel. And I like Superman.
I am such an angry neckbeard with my love of crappy characters like Tony Stark.
You're like Tony Stark, and I'm like, this is why I love the DC universe, because our main
You like the
heroes
good guys.
can't be villains.
My favorite DC character is Sinestro.
Sinestro is fucking awesome though. But you know who's better?
We can still agree.
Hal Jordan, the greatest Green Lantern of all
Shut your
of
whore
all
mouth.
time.
Oh my god.
It is in the Book of Oa, the greatest Green Lantern of all time. That's actually a little fucked up to me that it is canon that Hal Jordan is the greatest Green Lantern of all
Especially
time.
because he's terrible.
And because Sinestro is constantly fighting it, and he's like fighting the Book of Oa, which is part of why Sinestro's so badass.
Yeah, he is.
He's actually he's definitely one of my top 5 villains.
Yeah.
Is Sinestro? He's absolutely great.
Sinestro's awesome.
You were gushing about this comic before it started.
I love
Knight.
Moon Knight.
Definitely married Greg Smallwood.
And this comic was so good too. Oh my god, Ryan Reynolds was not the. Somebody just is trying to trigger me. This is what this is.
There's no other
I need to
Green
put
Lantern
back
to
on-
compare him to.
I'm just gonna put on my triggered face for the rest of the episode. Ugh, CGI costume. Oh my god, so terrible. Moon Knight. This
Knight.
comic is so trippy. Every time I read it, it's like it's an experience, and this one was like that too. So with Moon Knight, you can never tell if he's like in the hospital or not in the hospital.
Okay.
And
so it's like it's a mental hospital, right?
yes, it's a mental hospital, and in this one, he's out on the street, but his reality keeps shifting. It's the entire. Here, I'll just show you. The entire thing is just like a trip. Because you think he's fighting a cop, but then the cop shifts.
What?
and it
Okay, look at this. Yeah,
Well,
so
it's
at the top here, it's a cop, and then it turns into like an alligator, and then back into a cop. I love stories like that sort of go back and forth between.
he's like
reality.
he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
This is not just Batman of the Marvel Universe anymore.
No. And the art is really lovely. It's really beautiful. It's really classic. And I just love the blatant mindfuck the entire time. I still don't know like what the hell is going on. You never know because he just shifts. Like 1 second he's back in the asylum, the second second he's out in the world, and then it ends on a cliffhanger. So I can't share that.
Comics.
It ends on a cliffhanger, but you're just kind of like it's not confusing in the way Black Panther was confusing, where it's like, right. What the hell? But it's like, I don't know what's going on, and it's in the best way possible that I don't know what's going on.
That's awesome. I feel like this is going to be one of those books that when you get to the end of this arc, there's going to be one detail they tell you, like, this was happening the whole time, and it's just going to be like, what?
Yeah. And you just never, my favorite thing about Moon Knight is like, from page to page, you just never know what's going to happen. Because the way they've set it up is anything can happen. A police officer can turn into an alligator man.
Yeah. Welcome to insanity.
You just have no idea what's going to happen in the next page. He's just going to open his eyes and he's going to be back in the hospital. That's amazing.
Man, that's really cool. Jeff Lemire's that's another guy who, like, how does he have time to write all these awesome books? It's by delaying the one book that I want. That's why. Been waiting for After Death for like a year now, but Jeff Lemire won't finish it.
If you're not reading Moon Knight, you should. It's really good.
I think
it's really good.
I'm gonna have to pick up that trade.
It's
when it
fun.
comes out,
It's just
really cool.
the way and also the way that they wrote and kind of the way they did the art for his reality shifting from time to time is just really interesting because you as a reader are like just as confused as he is, and it's fun to experience that.
That's really cool.
It's like a dream. The entire thing. That's the best way to put it. The entire thing is like a weird, creepy dream sequence.
Weird dream. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Moon Knight, number 4. All right. Is anybody reading Captain America Sam Wilson? Now that Steve Rogers is back as Captain America?
No, I only care about Steve.
I feel bad that now Steve Rogers is Captain America, and it was the biggest like news ever when he became Captain America again, or when he became Hydra Captain America again. That this book is just killing, just you know.
But see, okay, this goes back to the Iron Man thing. All right. Falcon was a great character. Why did we have to turn him into Captain America to sell the comic?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like with Sam Wilson, like we don't. And in this case, people are not buying Captain America. Like people who just love Captain America in general are gonna follow old Steve to young Steve. People who like Sam Wilson are reading this comic.
Exactly. And for those people, why didn't they just stick with Falcon. He was a good character.
It's fine. Yeah, and there's something to be said about with Riri Williams and Iron Man, she's not already a character. But by taking Sam Wilson and making him Captain America and calling it an upgrade, it implies that as Falcon, he can't be the hero Captain America is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being Falcon, right?
There really
Falcon's
isn't.
awesome. Dick Grayson did this where he became Nightwing, and he kind of showed that Nightwing can have as much fans as Batman. Teen Titans can outsell every other book in the 80s because it has Nightwing in it.
Yes.
That can happen with Falcon too if you just commit to it. And granted, Sam Wilson as Captain America would have been fine too if you just committed to it. And I think that by bringing Steve back, that's not committing to it.
I think Nightwing is like an A-lister now. And when you think about it, he was a Robin.
I think more people know Nightwing than know Nightwing was
Well,
Robin.
yeah,
in
then
a
know
weird
him
way.
as Dick Grayson, and
Yeah.
I think that's what they could have done with Falcon if they had really put effort into it. But wait a second here, did they really cast Ryan Reynolds as Moon Knight, or are you guys fucking with me?
You didn't hear about that? Super great news. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Moon Knight.
No, he's not.
He got a 3-picture deal.
No.
No, he's not.
Oh, thank God.
Now Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, so they're probably not going to recast him in the
Well, that's why I was gonna be like, can't they find anybody else? Did everybody else in the film industry die, and all we have is Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson? Is that it? Did everybody just die?
That's who we have.
Is everybody dead? All the actors are dead, and we just have 2 people.
Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds, Scarlett Johansson.
Freaking Ghost in the Shell, freaking Scarlett Johansson, fucking stirred on this shit. It's fucking stupid.
I don't even know if that movie's going to end up coming out
Comic
now.
news.
But anyway, we'll talk about comics. Saint Escapee asked us what were our thoughts of the new Falcon. I didn't know there was one.
I didn't know there was one either.
So there you go. See, it's all about Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
It's not even the name Falcon that's super great. With these characters, especially I think with a lot of the Marvel characters, their names aren't necessarily legacies like the characters from the Silver Age, Golden Age are. Illis Knock, thank you for following. Any of you that are just joining us now or have joined us recently, this is Hyper RPG, a hyperactive, interactive, premium quality Twitch channel focusing on digital and analog gaming and other things in the geek culture sphere. This is Rabbit Stew, where we talk about topical news based on the theme, and Wednesday's theme, of course, is comic books because it's comic book day. Dow Masks, or however you pronounce that, thank you for following. You can go ahead and throw us a follow, throw us a subscribe. Every 5 subscribers we get, we give away a Steam key in chat. And then you can participate in things like our metagame and all kinds of other great features that our subscribers get through Discord chat. We are talking about comic books with that bronze girl.
The most pessimistic comic book fan, and Scott, the most optimistic comic book fan.
Very possibly the most optimistic comic book fan.
You're
I
like
have
Kyle
met
Rayner, and I'm like Sinestro.
the only people I've met that love Superman like I do are people like they write comics. Like there's nobody else who reads comics that's like I believe. Dajimo, thank you for following. But I just love Superman so much.
Let Japan do its thing. I agree. Leave Major Kusanagi alone. And he might like eyeliner to run down my face. Leave
You alone.
her alone.
I never watched Ghost in the Shell, so like I feel like I don't.
They have pictures of
there
her
are so
on
many
set.
reasons why I feel like I shouldn't have an opinion on this.
They have pictures with her and the purple hair on
But-
set, and I was sick.
Oh no.
Almost
Oh,
as sick
no.
as the Iron Man news, but I was sick.
But worse. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Oh well. You know what casting news made me super excited though when they decided Aquaman was going to be a giant Hawaiian.
Yeah, that was
That
was
is
cool.
awesome.
I like that.
That was my expert segue skills right there. That's showmanship is what that is because now we're going to talk about Aquaman.
Yes.
Breaking news. Brian Reynolds cast as I can't see that over there on the camera.
Overlord.
As Overlord. Here we go. We have fired Zach. Ryan Reynolds is in charge now. Dan Abnett continues his Aquaman run.
Walking off
Aquaman
the
number
set.
2. She's out. Goodbye. No, it's cool. After all the shit we've been through with Ryan Reynolds, it's kind of great that like he's the great Deadpool that we have
No,
now.
he is a good Deadpool, but I mean, I'm happy he was a good Deadpool because if not, I would have personally had to like just adorned my assassin attire and like killed him for the
Right.
good of comic books because he was in Blade and that was a terrible movie, like the newest one, and then he was the terrible Deadpool in the X-Men, and then he was the terrible Green Lantern, and I was like, all right, if he messes up this new Deadpool movie for the good of comic book nerds everywhere, I'm just gonna have to grab my katana and don my ninja attire and go to his house and kill him. So I'm Ryan Reynolds, if you're out there, thank you for not sucking, because now you saved me a lot of work.
Yes,
So
and you should apparently be thanking yourself for not sucking, because now you're still alive.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's on our side. He wanted a good Deadpool movie as much as all of us did, so we got one, which is great. But yeah, after being dragged through the mud, it's nice that he just gets to be Deadpool. All right, let's talk about Aquaman. This issue, The Drowning. Black Manta just destroyed Aquaman's embassy. That's basically it happened at the beginning of the issue and at the end of last issue, really. And so this is just all the fallout from that, basically. But yeah, this big embassy was built between Atlantis and the surface world, and I was like, this is going to be a cool fixture. Like, this is actually a good idea. I did not expect it to last 4 issues long and then get destroyed by Black Manta, but it did. This whole arc is really building up themes of fatherhood and vengeance. In that the Black Manta Aquaman history is that Black Manta killed Aquaman's father. Aquaman killed Black Manta's father, thinking that was Black Manta when he was younger. Now he's a hero. He doesn't kill anymore, but Black Manta is determined to kill Aquaman. And so that's the theme of this issue. Is a lot of discussion about that, and Aquaman kind of beats Black Manta by being like, "What happens after you kill me? What do you do?" And Black Manta's like, "Fuck."
I didn't think that far ahead.
He doesn't like give up, but he's like, I'll figure something out.
This helmet kind of ruins my far vision.
What's interesting, though, is that in Rebirth, Calderon, also known as Jackson Hyde, from the bad Black Aqualad, was for like years ago. And so he has not shown up in this run yet, but he presumably will. And so this issue, this arc is good, and the art has been awesome by Brad Walker. But I'm just waiting for Aqualad to show up. That's this whole thing. Is I'm just waiting for Aqualad. I love that kid. And that's another. We talked about like creating new characters that exist. Like Aqualad became Tempest, and so there's the room for a new Aqualad to take over that can be black and is now gay. Which is another thing that, like, they introduced him in the show, and he was this character people really liked. And hey, Hyper Rabbit Power, go!
I think are we on still?
Welcome to Rabbits 2 on Comic Book Day.
We're on. Good.
Scott the Optimist will be reading the good news as Kyle Rayner. Bronze the Pessimist will deliver the bad news as the Fridge.
What?
Ooh, Steph Woodward, thank you for the host.
Wait, it's like a dead body in the fridge? Wait, no.
Wait, so are you the fridge, or are you...
Wait, am I the fridge you put the dead bodies in? Or am I the dead body in the fridge? Because depending on the way you answer that, I may or may not still not be offended, because people on the internet don't offend me. If they did, I
feel like if it was going to be the optimist and the pessimist, and you were going off Kyle Rayner, it should be Major Force, the guy that put the girl in the fridge.
Yeah.
Right? Although you're not necessarily a fan of
I still view
fridging.
myself as Sinestro, though.
Whatever. I liked Bronze Girl and Beard Boy better.
Yeah.
Hey, Hyper Rabbit Power, go! We got ScarJo and Ryan Reynolds. This is awesome.
In the place of a dark lord, you would have a queen. Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the morn. Treacherous as the seas. Stronger than the foundations of the earth. All shall love me in despair.
I love this Lord of the Rings reference. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you very much for that.
All shall love me in despair.
Any of you that are just joining us now, this is Hyper RPG, a hyperactive, interactive, premium quality Twitch channel powered by you, the viewers. We focus mostly on gaming and digital and analog gaming, but we also have this beautiful show here, Rabbit Stew, where we talk about topical news based on a theme, and Wednesday's theme, of course, is Comic Book Day. So today we are talking about comic books. I am Scott, and this is That Bronze Girl.
Hello.
You can find her at Bronze Girl Games.
Games.
At Bronze Girl Games on Twitter. And we were
Also
talking about
find me on
Aquaman,
Twitch.
who is badass. You can also find her on Twitch. She streams, she talks about comic books, she plays video games, a bunch of awesome stuff. Superman, The Coming of the Superman. We just talked about how much I love Superman, and I'm not reading this. That's kind of embarrassing. But this is the end of this big Neil Adams self-indulgent miniseries. I might check it out depending on how it's received now that it's over, but I wouldn't bet on it because of the way Batman Odyssey went down. Superman's final confrontation with the army of Darkseid is at hand. What will the fate of the 3 new Supermen? What is the secret of Krypton? You know, I might just be down to check out Neil Adams drawing some Darkseid versus Superman, actually, because I'm all for that. Shenforce, thank you for following. Go ahead, throw us a follow, throw us a subscribe if you're so inclined. Every time we get 5 subscribers, we give away a Steam key to somebody in the chat. The next is Daredevil. There's a Daredevil Punisher series? Mm-hmm. I didn't know about this, actually. Are you reading this? It's also by Charles Soule's writing everything. Getting to the airport is always a hassle. Getting a Russian mobster to the airport for trial relocation while avoiding the Punisher and mob associates can be deadly. Daredevil has trained Blind Spot well, but nothing can prepare him for what will happen next. I love that Daredevil's sidekick is named Blind Spot.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. That is such a great name for Daredevil's sidekick. So, Daredevil versus the Punisher. We talked about, publicity stunts, and this is definitely one of them, based on Netflix. And Minker, we still have 5 subs before we give away a Steam key. So we're still waiting on the full 5.
Sub, you'll get a happy bronze and a more optimistic sky.
Yeah, more optimistic. This
is true.
That can happen. All right, now we both read this next one. Batman Beyond 14. This series has been killing it.
Yeah, so good.
As far as it initially spun out of a weekly called Future's End that was mediocre. I liked it because I like weeklies that just live in the DCU, but it was longer than it needed to be. And then it sort of ended with his Batman Beyond series, which has every issue been more and more like the TV show and more like the Batman Beyond we grew up loving. And we finally learned in the last issue that this new mysterious rewire who's been plaguing Tim Drake, who's been Batman Beyond, is in fact Terry McGinnis. The Batman Beyond is back. We learned in this issue that his memories are a little fucked up, and maybe that's why he thinks he's Rewire. He doesn't know he's Terry.
Yeah.
So this is all, this is all building towards when Batman Beyond Rebirth comes out, it's going to be Terry in the Beyond suit.
Yep.
So this is the arc in which Terry gets it back from Tim. What excited me most about this is one panel where Terry's little brother Matt was eyeing the Robin suit in the Batcave.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I want that little kid to be Robin Beyond so bad. Little Matt never got that much in the show, he was just like the annoying little brother. Oh yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah, the theme music.
Thanks, Joe. So this book is awesome. The Wired for Death storyline continues as the mysterious Rewire's true identity is finally revealed. It's an explosive revelation that can only lead to a climactic showdown between Rewire and Batman, as they're both being manipulated by Spellbinder. That feels more like the description for the next issue. Because like the end that we find out Spellbinder is involved. It's cool. This has like a flashback scene to like a moment in season 1 where Batman Beyond is fighting Shriek.
Yes.
Which was awesome. And then also it sort of shows the moment where Batman Beyond intersects with Future's End story-wise, which was probably useful for me and 4 other people who are wondering that. Nobody else. But yeah, this Batman Beyond storyline has been awesome.
Yeah, I've loved it so far. It's been such a good run.
And
I don't feel like enough people talk about it.
Yeah, and it's, if you liked the show Batman Beyond, there are a few Batman Beyond series that have come out, and really all of them are good. All of them are worth reading. This one is probably my favorite. Maybe Kyle Higgins' run was my favorite, but they're both great.
And I'm excited to have Terry back.
And yeah, it's great to have Terry back. It's been kind of fun having Tim as Batman Beyond.
Yeah,
but
he makes a good one too. I don't want to throw Tim under the bus.
Yeah, but he's also something to be said about Jerkins has kind of been writing him. Ryan Reynolds as Batman. Thank you for following. Oh man, you know what? If like during his Van Wilder days, he could have been Terry. He could have been Terry during his Van Wilder days. I think he could have been a decent Batman.
Oh no! Please.
I don't hate Ryan Reynolds. He's been in awful things, but as an actor, I don't hate him.
I don't hate him either. I'm just like, there's other actors.
There are other actors.
There's more than one.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a lot. There's definitely better people for Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond is awesome. The only thing this book is missing is Bruce. Unfortunately, it's but it's got awesome Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. I always like the older Batgirl too.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon is now Barbara Gordon. Batgirl is now Commissioner Gordon, and she's awesome.
I just like that they actually had a female character age.
Yeah. That's a really
doesn't
good point.
happen, right?
It really doesn't.
And so I'm like, oh, look at her. She's a powerful older woman.
Yeah.
And they allowed her to not be like a little sex kitten in spandex forever and ever and ever. And I love that about her.
Commissioner Gordon is awesome.
And I love
all
her, like,
Commissioner
sort of,
Gordons are all awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. You're reading Spider-Woman?
Ryan Reynolds as Tony Stark.
This is Tony Stark. Ryan Reynolds is Peter Parker? No. I like the idea of Ryan Reynolds as Professor X, like, not actually, but like, if they were to do a Lego movie like Lego Batman, that's where Ryan Reynolds should be Professor X. Like, get the worst possible casting choice and put it in a Lego movie, and it usually works out fine. Right? Michael Cera as Robin, I could not be more excited. Scarlett Johansson as Ryan Reynolds. Okay. Spider-Woman number 9, we do not get...
Scarlett Johansson will be starring in the Maya Angelou biopic.
Oh my god, you guys are ridiculous.
No
Goku389,
more
thank
comment.
you for following. All right, let's move on to this Ryan Reynolds nonsense. Spider-Woman number 9, no cover for this one for some reason. Spider-Woman has a history with both sides of Civil War II, so things are more complicated than just picking a side. Plus, she's got her baby to consider now, so she can't risk her life putting him in harm's way. But Jess has never been one to just sit on the sidelines. I've heard about this series that the baby is apparently just on the sidelines. So there's this big thing, oh, she's pregnant, who's the father going to be? It turns out the father was just herself, and now there's just like this baby that they keep forgetting about. So at least this issue's going to talk about the baby.
Yes.
That's nice. The cover, I'm disappointed that the cover's not here because that was kind of the only thing I wanted to show people because I don't have anything to say about this book I haven't read. But the cover was like Spider-Woman's silhouette with like Iron Man and Carol like flying towards each other with their colors flying behind them, and there wasn't very many black lines on it. It's a really cool cover. I flipped through this X-Men Civil War tie-in. It's Extraordinary X-Men versus Uncanny X-Men. Matteo Ponzo, thank you for following. Welcome. So yeah, this is just, as far as I could tell, has very little to do with the Civil War itself.
Yes.
But it's the Uncanny team meets the Extraordinary team, written by Cullen Bunn, which means it has tons of awesome Magneto in it. Cullen Bunn writes a fantastic Magneto. For those of you who didn't know, Spider-Woman, when they first announced the all-new, all-different Marvel after Secret Wars, there was going to be... I totally called this shit, by the way. When they first announced the all-new, all-different Marvel, they were like, it's going to be 8-month time jump after Secret Wars. And I was like, somebody's going to be really pregnant. It's going to happen. And lo and behold, it was Spider-Woman. So yeah, when they did that, Spider-Woman was really pregnant, and so that was the big mystery of the Spider-Woman series, was who knocked her up. And it turned out she impregnated herself or something. I didn't read it, but like that happened. You know, Spider-Man did that? Actually, no. Spider-Man didn't impregnate himself.
I was gonna say, wait.
A spider-like villain impregnated Spider-Man in a way that sort of turned him into an actual spider, and then he gave birth to himself, which allowed him to have organic web shooters, like the movies. Happened in like 2004. By Paul Jenkins. Yep, that happened.
All right, then.
Comics. So yeah, something similar happened with Spider-Woman, except for instead of...
I know what you guys are doing this weekend, but I'm going to go ahead and give birth to myself and have organic web shooters, so...
There you go. Yeah. So
right after the
this
show,
time,
I'm going to start the
instead of giving birth to
process.
herself, she gave birth to a baby, like most mothers do. But, you know, we can't all be Spider-Man. Omega Tizerm, thank you for following. All right, let's start scrolling down to see some of these things that we've actually read. Just League of America number 10 did not come out. Did you read this Civil War Kingpin tie-in?
No, I was flipping through it before the show, though. It looks interesting, but I did not read it.
All right, let's see what it's about, because I'm curious about the Civil War tie-ins that I haven't read. An Inhuman with the ability to predict the future has helped the heroes of the Marvel Universe create Civil War II. We know about that one. While this thwarts most criminals, one man has found a way to keep doing what he does best. Wilson Fisk has managed to stay one step ahead of the good guys, and his crime enterprise is booming. But what's his secret? Rising stars Matthew Rosenberg and Ricardo Lopez Ortiz present a gritty, street-level view of Civil War II, starring the Kingpin in a world without crime. Now, this is weird because it sort of implies that it's farther in the Civil War than we are. It implies that they are using Ulysses to stop crime, which in Civil War, like as far as I know, we're not actually actively doing that yet, are we?
Mm-mm.
So that's interesting because that seems to be happening here. I like the idea of in a world where the superheroes are all telling the future and thus you can't even think about committing crime, Fisk manages to anyway.
It's basically like Minority Report.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you still be a badass villain in a world of Minority Report? I'm gonna check this out, I think, because I love when super genius villains explain their machinations.
Yeah.
And they just
Yeah.
like work around stuff.
And I think
you know?
Wilson
love a good
Fisk in general is just a really interesting character because a lot of the time he doesn't think he's doing anything bad.
Yeah. Kingpin, he had like one small story in Civil War I, and it was totally badass. Howard Porter, thank you for following. I'm gonna assume that's a fake name. Either that, you're the artist Howard Porter, in which case I think you're fucking awesome. Let's see what we got. Green Lanterns. We talked about Green Lantern earlier. This is the book with Simon and Jessica.
Yes.
And
Bleeze's beautiful booty.
there's
Beauty.
booty on the cover.
I said
Bleeze even
beauty.
in this issue? I don't.
She was in the last one briefly.
Yeah, I don't think she was on this one though. So anyway, continuing the
Yeah.
Red Dawn.
She doesn't have to be in there to stick her butt on the front.
Yeah,
all
she
right.
doesn't, no.
Don't complain. Don't let us have this.
What? No, I'm with. Wait, which side are you on? Hold on. Do you want Bleeze's booty for no reason?
Yes.
Do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Because she's not in the. What? Really? Why is the question I would ask.
Let us have this.
Anyway, Bleeze is not in this book, but Red Lanterns are, Green Lanterns are. Simon and really what this book is, I'm enjoying most is Simon and Jessica building their dynamic.
Yes, because they started out hating each other.
Yeah, they both kind of hate each other, and they have to be partners.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that I think builds up a good, like, I think this issue, or this run might be the basis of a pairing that goes down in history, like Blue and Gold, or like Iron Fist and Power Man, or like this might be like Simon and Jess. They're partners and they work great together. I hope so, because this is beginning to build that. The villain plot line seems really obvious. We're gonna give red power rings to people and make them angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like it seems like exactly the conclusion of Charles Soule's Red Lanterns run, just happening again. So I don't know about that, but you know, people like the Red Lanterns, so there's not much they can do other than show up and make everybody go angry and hurt things.
Yeah. I liked the last run of the Red Lanterns, and I kind of
Oh,
wish
they were like a biker gang?
a little bit.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
And I loved like how you got to see their brand of justice because they're all about vengeance. That's and who the people they target to become Red Lanterns are people who want revenge basically.
Yeah, it's all very Punisher-like.
Yeah, so I really like because that's the best way to put it. They're like
Atrocitus
galactic
is
Punishers.
cosmic Punisher, yeah.
Yeah. And I loved watching them go around to like planets where they were holding slaves and just vomit napalm blood all over everybody and leave, you know? It was freaking amazing.
It was awesome.
And now it's like, oh, they're going to do that same thing where they're like, everybody has a ring. And after that whole Godhead thing where they kind of did that, right after Godhead, rather, they gave like everybody a red ring. I was like, can we chill with the rings for a little bit?
Yeah. And hopefully they will. Like, at the very least, I hope that we're not going to keep like expanding the ring scope, because it was awesome when Jeff Johns was like, you thought that you knew just green and one yellow. Turns out there's a whole War of Light.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
that was cool.
We're not going to do it again. You can't just redo the War of Light. So if you try to, what you have is a story arc that has 7 different factions that haven't been built for 4 years. Like, you need to build that first. So I don't know how Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps is going to go story-wise, but I think hopefully it's not going to be a rival Lantern Corps. But it was a good book. I'm not enjoying it as much as Hal Jordan, but I just, the reason to pick up Green Lanterns right now is because of Jess and Simon.
Yeah.
They're really fun.
I agree.
And
Their dynamic is cute too.
And since they both shown up, both of them I've wanted to see more of this whole time. Like I've wanted to see more of Simon since he showed up in Green Lantern Zero, and more of Jess since he showed up in Forever Evil. And Jeff Johns promised me both, and for 3 years I've gotten nothing. So now they're back and they're getting some awesome stuff. We're running a little low on time. We're getting towards the end, so let's jump to, because they haven't popped up here, our polls of the week.
Okay.
Because ours kind of go together this week.
They do.
Mine is Flintstones #1. Now, y'all know that DC has been putting out these Hanna-Barbera comics. And for all the Hanna-Barbera properties that have come out, Flintstones is really the one that I watched the most when I was younger. I just love the world of Bedrock. I love seeing more of Bedrock. I like the stone versions of the real world. So I'm just going to show you this page here, because this is why it's my poll of the week. It's this big splash page with just tons of Bedrock. and a bunch of great locations in there. Things
that's
like
pretty.
Star Bricks Coffee, Whammoth, Bammoth, Thank You Mammoth. It looks like a gay bar called Homo Erectus, a bowling alley called Crane's Lanes. Instead of Target, it's Tar Pit. So it's great Flintstones fun. It's a very neat like little story about in the beginning. We're in the present, and there's this like Neanderthal that was frozen in ice with like this necklace. And these people in the present are like, I wonder why this guy has a necklace and what makes him special. And then we sort of learned that he was just like this guy that followed Fred Flintstone around on a work site one day. Then a rich guy was like, I'll give you this necklace if you fight that mammoth. And then he failed and got trapped in ice. And so that's why he's there. And they're like, he was probably a leader because of this necklace. And it turned out he was just given the necklace by some guy. Really, if you're a fan of the Flintstones, which I am, I absolutely loved this comic. It was really fun. I wasn't necessarily going to pull this series, and now I really think I am. Just because I really like the world. They made Wilma an artist, and they really kind of tapped into what it's like to create art in a world that doesn't understand art. Mm-hmm. In that this world understands art, but they don't understand hers. And they do a really good job of making it feel fun and feel like a new world, at the same time has all those real world themes like, oh, everybody's just people.
Yeah.
A million years ago or now, everybody still has the same stressors. So that's what makes Flintstones great in my mind. So that's why it's my poll of the week, Flintstones #1. Now yours is also a Hanna-Barbera comic, right?
Yes.
Which
Future
one?
Quest.
Future Quest.
Do we have it here?
I don't think we do, because everybody pulled it too much. But yeah, Future Quest #2 came out, which apparently is also not on this list yet.
Oh.
I read the first issue of Future
left
Quest,
mine
but
in
I
my
have
car.
not read the new one yet. So
Okay.
tell us about it.
So I really like this one because you have Space Ghost dispensing Space Ghost coast to coast dispensing great justice. And honestly, okay, I'm just gonna full disclosure. I like Haji.
You like Haji?
I like Haji. I was
Okay.
afraid to come back to it after so many years because I was like, am I going to be offended by Haji? Because when I was a kid, I didn't know any better, and now I'm an adult, and am I still going to love Haji? And the thing is, I do. And yes, he uses his little turban gem to like talk to a monkey, but I didn't care, because it was my childhood. Let me have this.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And basically, it's them. Right now they're still setting up the comic book, so it's like you have all these worlds colliding and all these characters kind of coming together and meeting each other
Right.
and discovering each other. So the comic book, honestly, is still hitting its stride, in my opinion. It's not like it's not very strong story wise. I think most of the value lies in kind of some of the jokes and the nods to like references to the original shows because it's a mashup of a few different shows. I think that it's good in that regard, but they're still setting everything up.
I mean, that's
So you
part
still
of-
have the characters meeting each other and interacting for the very first time.
It's part of having. They have a huge cast in that comic.
They do.
Right?
They
'Cause
have a
that's-
lot of
For
people.
those of you who don't know, Future Quest is a bunch of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons kind of all together, right? So you've got Space Ghost, you've got Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest.
What else is there?
So far, those are the only ones that have actually entered the comic.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. So they're starting. I mean, I guess that's how you should do this kind of thing. You
Yeah,
start slow,
so-
get people familiar with a character, and
So
then
the
you
comic
introduce a new one.
opens with basically Johnny Quest. Kind of, they're roaming the forest like they always do in every freaking show, looking for artifacts. And there's
Nice.
these random storms, lightning storms that keep happening. And in this comic book, we find out that the cause of those storms is basically the Space Ghost.
Cool.
Yeah, and so now, Birdman is there. You're
Harvey
right.
Birdman is there.
Birdman makes an appearance as well, but they're kind of slowly introducing the characters as you go along.
Cool. I mean, that's how. Yeah, it's an issue too, but it's super cool to see all your great characters. When
I
you're
totally
around.
forgot Birdman was there.
Like in the Flintstones, we see Betty and Wilma and Fred and Barney, but we don't see any of the kids.
yeah.
We don't see anybody else. We see his boss for a second, but we don't see their pet. Stegosaurus, I want to say. I don't remember their dog dinosaur, but yeah, this is how it happens. Sorry, I misspoke. It's not Harvey Birdman. It's just Birdman. It would be awesome if Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, showed up. I would be super down for that.
I think the direction the comic book going is I think they're going to bring them all into the same world as Johnny Quest.
So it's gonna Johnny Quest
Because they did show other characters like in this. It was like in this alternate dimension where they're fighting this giant entity that's like absorbing everyone.
Cool. So it's
and-
not like they're all in one world. It's
Not
all these
yet.
worlds are colliding.
Yeah, and so basically these electrical storms that are happening are almost like rifts for things from that world to come into Johnny Quest's world. And so far, we've only had one what's her name? I can't think of her name right now. Space Ghost's basically his lady that flies around with him.
I don't remember either. Let us know, chat. I'm sure you guys remember.
Yeah, basically she's crossed over. He
That is
sends her
Space Ghost.
through, and then so I think it's probably I think the direction it's going is they're all gonna cross over.
Cool.
It'll be
You mean
fun.
all the Hanna-Barbera ones, or you mean Future Quest is going to be all of them crossing over?
I think their Future Quest is gonna be all of them crossing over.
Yeah, the Hanna-Barbera comics are all great. And granted, I'm worried about, I think in a year, if we look back on this, it might be we're going to get 6 issues of great comics. Mal, thank you for resubscribing. 9 months resub hype. Yeah, like I worry about, we've got fantastic artists and writers on these books right now, and they need to stay that way to all be this good.
Yeah, because even Scooby-Doo was good.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's great. Scooby-Doo is different because that one is going to end. I don't think that one is an ongoing. It's a miniseries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like the end of the world and stuff. There's only so much of an ongoing you can do
That's
when you
true.
kill everybody in the first issue.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. So yeah, the Hanna-Barbera comics are all absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else you read that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Can't think of anything. I'm like looking at the list up here. Bob's Burgers is okay. I'm not a huge fan.
Are you following the ongoing?
Yeah.
Really? So did you read this one this week?
Yes.
All right. It's got Tina's erotic friend fiction.
Yeah, it does. So basically
For the dragon spoof?
Yeah, every single one of these comics is kind of interesting because they all we got a free sub. Vari.
Thank you for resubbing.
So basically every single one of these comics has a section that Tina writes, a section that is from Louise's standpoint, and a section that is from what's the youngest? Jean's standpoint. So they're all different and they're all done in different art styles. And before the stories were not connected, but as of like the last, I want to say 4, they've started like Tina's, because each and every comic has a Tina's erotic fan fiction, and now they're like going from
like a
comic to
continuing
comic. Yeah,
friend
before it
fiction?
was different every single time. And then Jane's is usually just a song or a musical. It's just a rhyming thing, yeah. So they're kind of fun. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a must buy, but if you like the show, it's kind of fun.
Cool. All right. Well, that's just about the time we have for today. Before we get out of here, Bronze, where else can we find you on the internet when you're not here on Hyper RPG?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Bronze Girl Games. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatbronzegirl. I'm a variety caster, but I also play some D&D on my channel, and we also do some comic book talk. We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Cool. Just
Yeah.
like us here.
Just like us here.
Remember, stick around. 3 o'clock today, we have Watching Paint Dry with Viking Last. That's right up next. Afterwards, the Shadowrun Corporate Sins. Remember to tune in on Saturday. We have our big Necropolis Def Jam, or Co-op Jam, or whatever we're calling it. There's going to be so much Necropolis. It's going to be so awesome.
So many people are going to be here.
Everybody's going to be here.
Everybody's gonna be here.
I'm not going to be here, and I'm jealous of everybody that's going to be here.
Just do what I'm going to do. Just come by anyway.
I might. I'm probably just going to be at home watching the whole time, though. I'm going to be taking notes, like, I don't want to die this much. It's Necropolis, but I'm going to die that much anyway. Necropolis Co-op Death Jam is this Saturday, July 9th. It'll be 12 hours of diabolical dungeon delving. Make sure you throw us a subscribe or a follow if you've enjoyed the show or enjoyed our other shows. This is Hyper RPG. Thank you guys for tuning into Rabbit Stew. Stick around for Watching Paint Dry up next.